Hello everyone, this is MC Deck Discussions and I'm Abby Small, and today I have something a little different for you. And I have this up on the screen right away so that if you want to pause the video, during the introduction, just read it. I'll read the card in a little bit, but in case some of you just are curious right away, I wanted it up on the screen so that you could read them and look at them right off the bat. So hopefully I remembered in the title to put the word fix or fixing, Hulk in quotes to represent that, this isn't necessarily a fix for him for everybody. I know some people love Hulk as is already, and, just is one of their favorite heroes, and more power to you if that's the case. This is really meant for those who would like to have just more of an experience with Hulk that makes him feel a little bit more powerful, or actually a lot more powerful to me. All right, so let's go ahead and get into this. Oh, and actually, I wanted to say one more thing, and that is, from the moment I started playing with this card, like even just in the first few rounds, I was excited because I was actually having fun playing Hulk. The previous time I had played Hulk, I actually found myself bored playing him. And so this adds just a little bit more decision making into your game. He's still relatively simple, and this card is simple to use, but it's just enough more decision making involved, to when you're strategizing, and it just added kind of that extra level of fun to be able to do that. All right, now let's get into the card. I'll go ahead and read it. It's called "Don't Make Me Angry," which is meant to be reminiscent of, that famous Bruce Banner quote, "You wouldn't like me when I'm angry," but that wouldn't really fit on here, so it was shortened up. And this was worked on in Daring Lime's. There were a few of us in Daring Lime's chat on Discord. We're discussing this and refining it. And Blue Fire was able to go ahead and create these for us, which is just awesome. I think he did a fantastic job designing it. And it's actually started off, we had, it's a one-sided card. And originally we were going to go with a two-sided card, but it was simpler and more effective actually going with a one-sided card. And so the only reason there are two cards here is because you can choose which one you want to print, or you can do like I did, which is I printed both of them and put it on both sides. And now I just choose whichever art I'm most in the mood for when I'm playing. Or really, the reality is that if I would lose a game, I'd just switch over to the other art side. Maybe I'd have better luck on that side. All right, so let's get into what it says. So this is a permanent and a setup. Tucked cards here may be played and spent as if they were in your hand. Notice they can be played or spent, so you can use them as resources. And it has this response: after an identity-specific card is discarded by an ability, tuck that card under here from your discard pile, limit twice per phase. So there are a couple of things that help retain some balance with this. Certainly, for sure, it makes Hulk more powerful, which is part of the goal, but also wanted some limits to it. So the limit twice per phase means only two cards could be tucked under here during a certain phase, either your hero phase versus the villain phase. And secondly, it's only identity specific cards that are discarded that can be put under, that can be tucked under here. All right, so let's go ahead and look at how this synergizes with both sides of the hero card. So the hero card, and then the hero side and the alter ego side. All right, first let's look at Hulk's hero side. So his ability on this side is Enraged, has this forced interrupt. When your turn ends, discard your hand. So now this ability, which in the previously was really a penalty, now it becomes a possibility to actually benefit Hulk as he tucks his own cards there. So you end up choosing a lot of the time to go, hey, I'm going to leave Hulk's cards in my hand at the end if I have any cards left. And then those one or two cards could end up tucked underneath his permanent. And then if you look at his alter ego ability, Bruce Banner, that's experimental research, has this action: draw one card, choose and discard one card from your hand. So what this does in the alter ego side is most of the time it essentially gives him a 6 hand size, right? So Hulk is known for only having a 4 hand size on his hero side, but also his alter ego side only has a hand size of 5. So typically in the past, I almost never would use this ability at all. I didn't want to get through my deck faster than I was already getting through it, and I usually had cards in my hand that I wanted to use, so I hardly ever use this ability. With the new permanent, I use this ability just about every time. Either I already have one of Hulk's identity-specific cards in my hand, so I know that I'll be able to discard one, or I even have a lot of times, hey, maybe on hero side, I played all of my cards already. I flip over to alter ego side, and I go, hey, let's just see if I get lucky. And then I'll go ahead and draw a card and maybe get lucky or not. And a lot of times I did get lucky, sometimes not. And sure enough, I'd be able to tuck the card under that new permanent. So this gives you a chance to build up some real resources. And there are such great cards that you can build up and hold on to, which also gives you more flexibility in your builds with Hulk. So no longer do you necessarily feel the pressure to put in just as many physical resource cards as possible so that you can make his cards work. Instead, when you tuck those cards, you can wait for the opportunities to occur to be able to play those cards. So let's go ahead and look at some of his cards as an example. All right, so here's the deck that I had thrown together to do my play testing, which I'll talk about the play testing results afterwards. So some of you are probably wondering about balance, and it still felt balanced. Actually, when you win, it doesn't feel very balanced, I have to admit. When you win, you usually crush the villain, but I still lost plenty of times when I was playing an expert. So there was still a surprising amount of balance to it, because at first when I would play him and I'd beat the villain, I'd think, oh, maybe this is too powerful. But I ended up finding that that wasn't the case, at least from a solo player perspective. Maybe that won't be the same for those of you using this in multiplayer. If you use it in multiplayer, I'd love to hear your results, and perhaps there is some balance. You would maybe a change in a maximum number of cards tucked that you might feel like you need if you're in multiplayer, but I'd love to hear the results for anybody who tries in multiplayer. All right, so let's look at some of these cards first of all. So the events, so he has a lot of events, right, that require that you have those physical resources, right? He has Crushing Blow. You can only play this if you have a physical resource. So if you have this tucked under, now you can wait till you for sure have a physical resource. Especially notice, like I have lots of cards in here that aren't physical resources. Never had any trouble playing Crushing Blow. Hulk Smash, right? This is one of those cards that you don't have to necessarily play with a physical resource, but it's mighty powerful to have that if you use only physical resources, getting that overkill and smashing right through one of those minions to still do a lot of damage, right? Hulk does 3 damage, plus this does another 10, 13 damage. A lot of that will end up going to the villain. Right? So he also has Suborbital Leap. Suborbital Leap feels a lot more powerful when you can use 3 threat, when you can remove the 5 threat, right? It's a 3-cost card. When you can move 5 threat instead when you use all physical resources, right? So those are just some different examples there. And then in addition to that, right, he has his Limitless Strength, right? 2 copies of this. Fantastic being able to tuck this. And because you're able to use it as a resource card, then you're allowed to spend the cards that are tucked. Then this ends up being perfect to tuck underneath to spend later when you're ready for it. All right. And then in addition to that, because you don't necessarily have all physical resource cards, Banner's Laboratory, or even the need for it, Banner's Laboratory becomes a more valuable card to play. And then so now you can take advantage of the fact that Bruce Banner now gets +2 to his recovery, right? He has 4 recovery to begin with. Now he has 6 recovery. And when you're on alter ego side, you have the ability to place, in my case, a bunch of my allies using this resource generator. Or actually in my case, because I had Dr. Sinclair in the deck, the ability to use that and be able to, do the healing with Dr. Sinclair. Okay. And then we also have Boundless Rage. So this is an extra synergistic move with this deck. If you get normally, I would hardly ever play Boundless Rage because I knew that when I went to alter ego side, I was going to lose the card, right? Because it has this forced response. Oh, first of all, it's a 1-cost card, right? Gives Hulk +1 ATK, right? It has a forced response. After you change form, discard this card. So now when you change form over to your alter ego side, then you're able to put this card, you're able to tuck this card and be able to save it to use again later. Right? So all of that, all of those abilities are really nice. And so now you can see that there's lots of synergy and just one simple rule that makes it synergistic with both sides. In addition, some of the villains that you play will have you discard cards, and you have the ability to get some of those cards back, at least if they happen to be your the cards that are from Hulk's own deck, right? His identity specific cards. Then you're able to take advantage of that, and with his obligation. So we'll take a look at that as well. All right, now this only has a possibility of having a benefit, or not so much of a benefit, but maybe mitigating the effect of this. But his Inner Demon's obligation, right? Give it to the Bruce Banner player. If you change form, you're forced to do that, right? You flip your identity, and then if you are Bruce Banner, discard 2 cards from your hand. Then discard this obligation. So if you happen to have been in hero form, and you're in hero form a lot, when you're playing with Hulk, I should think. So discard 2 cards from your hand. So when you flip over to that alter ego side, then if you happen to have some of your own identity specific cards, then you could tuck those cards underneath your new permanent. Okay? No such luck on the other side, right? If you're Hulk, exhaust your hero, discard this card. However, because you have been tucking cards, that's not as much of a penalty as it necessarily would have been in the past. And then let's just look at some examples of things that the villain might do to you when you're playing. Of course, this actually comes from the encounter deck, right? It's in the encounter deck. But let's look at an example from Claw. So first of all, Claw has this treachery that has this effect in alter ego side. So this is the only place you would get the benefit here. Discard 1 card at random from your hand. I did in fact do that when playing Claw, and got lucky to discard one of Hulk's cards, identity specific cards. So was able to take advantage of that, but that one is a matter of luck. But Radioactive Man, you're going to hit sooner or later. And in this case, you discard 1 card at random from your hand if it's a boost effect. And then after Radioactive Man attacks you, discard 1 card at random from your hand. So again, it's just random, but at least you have a chance that this won't impact you as much, because you could end up keeping the card tucked underneath. And then one last card that shows up all the time, at least if you're using the standard set here, which is Caught Off Guard, the Treachery. Right? When revealed, discard an upgrade or support you control. If no cards were discarded this way, this card gains Surge. So you have 2 such possible upgrades, or an upgrade or a support where this could occur, and you are more likely to play those when you have this permanent, this custom permanent in play, because of reasons that are started before. But the main thing is just having more resources available allows you to play these cards more readily. So let's take a look at those cards one more time just to see those cards that could be discarded. All right, so those cards were Banner's Laboratory, right? So that's a support there. So if that comes up and you discard this card, you can just put it underneath your permanent. And I will show the permanent again at the end here, just in case some of you are wondering to see it again. Okay? And then also Boundless Rage. So this one's a little less likely because you're not maybe going to be playing it all the time. But if it happens to be in play, and I did actually have it in play once, when that occurred, and I was able to discard this and just tuck it under. Right? All right, so let's finish off by looking at the card again, just to refresh what exactly it said. All right, and you might have noticed that this is inside a Google Doc, so I will be putting the link to this Google Doc in the description for the video, and then you'll have access to this. They're sized pretty darn close to what you would need to be able to print out and sleeve to be able to use. So again, it's called Don't Make Me Angry. It's an upgrade, and it's a permanent, and you put it out during the setup. Tucked cards here may be played and spent as if they were in your hand. So you could do, either one, and it has this response. So again, notice it's just a response, not a hero specific response or alter ego. It has this response: after an identity specific card is discarded by an ability, tuck that card under here from your discard pile. Again, that's a limit of twice per phase. Oh, and I should mention this last thing real quickly. So, because Bruce Banner, let's say you start on the Bruce Banner side, and so you use his ability, which is to draw a card and then discard a card. So you'd use it once. So what I do to keep track of it, and of course you could always use tokens to keep track of it, but what I do is I just turn the card sideways. And then when I flip over to the other side, if I'm going to discard another card, then I'll notice that it's already turned. Or perhaps I've used it twice and I just turn it twice till it's upside down. So that way I can keep track of the 2 times, because every once in a while, most of the time I didn't need that. I didn't start off doing that, but I wanted to have something to tell people. So I started doing that, and I did notice my turns were rather long, and I could forget whether or not I had used the ability once or already. So that ended up being a really nice way to take care of it, is just turn the card once. The first time you use it, you can turn it a second time if you use it again, or, of course, you just use tokens, which I imagine some people would choose to do instead. All right, so that's it. And I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope people really try it out. Of course, you can just reject this all out of hand. And frankly, if you don't have a printer, you wouldn't need to print it. You could just, make sure you know what it says and how it works, and just be able to use it. Maybe have it on your phone or something, just so you can see it. And then just try it out and see if it makes a difference for your play. For me, it was exponentially different, just how much more I enjoyed playing the game. That's right. I did have one last thing. I was going to show you the results of my play testing, right? So I enjoyed all the games that I played with him. Let me go ahead and show you the results. Okay, so I played 13 games with him, all with that same deck that I showed, right? So it's basically an Ally Swarm build and included Ready for a Fight, right? All 3 copies of Ready for a Fight. All right, so I played in Standard. I played against Claw in both Standard and Expert. I played against Claw, Eunice, Dark Beast, and Magneto. And all of the Standard games won all 4 of those, and which was nice, right? I expected to win and did win. And then in the Expert games, it was more of a challenge. So against Claw, I won that game, just played once. I played 3 games against Eunice and ended up winning one of those. Each time I just played until I won. And then I played Dark Beast, beat Dark Beast right away. And then I played Magneto, and it took me 4 attempts to beat him. So if you look at overall, it was 4 out of 4 victories on Standard and 4 out of 9 victories on Expert, which feels pretty balanced to me, right? So other people might disagree with that. And like I said, if you do use it and you start feeling this is just overpowered because you end up winning, that's the way it felt to me too. Right. So it felt like that to me until I lost. Right. And then I go, oh, actually, this is more balanced than I thought. Sometimes things just get out of control and you just can't keep up with thwarting, or, even though I had plenty of it in my deck, you just can't keep up with it. So it was way more balanced than I thought it was, because when I first started playing, I had this victory and then this victory and then another victory. And then I played against Eunice and Expert, and I was like, oh, okay. So this, when I start getting something more challenging, then it's not necessarily that it's overpowered, but it does feel overpowered pretty much every victory. And one last thing I wanted to mention is out of these 13 times, so there's one specific card that normally you can only play once. There are 2 copies of it. So let's look at that card real fast. All right, so if we take a look at this event here, Hulk Smash, there are 2 copies of this, right? And I don't know about you, but I've only ever played 1 copy of that in a turn. But I did have a couple of times, and this is again where I'm bringing up both for in terms of the awesomeness of the power of an attack with Hulk in this deck, but also that it's rare, relatively rare. It's not like I was doing it all the time, right? So I had a couple of times where I would have a copy of Hulk Smash tucked and a copy that showed up in my hand, and ended up being able to play both of them in one turn and getting plus 20 attack on that attack and getting overkill on it. So for a total of 23 attack in that. So of the 13 games that I played, I only did that twice. But those two times that it occurred felt absolutely epic. All right, so that's it now. Hopefully that covered everything I wanted to. And hopefully people will give this a try. Tell me what they think. I'd love to have the feedback. And please like and subscribe to help the channel grow. And I love it when people comment and be able to have conversations there. Have a good one, everybody.